Well, here we are again. I'll bet you didn't think I was going to come back, did you, sweetie? Well, that's just enough lead there so that you can make sure that you get your machine threaded up. This is side 2. Side 2. Your speed is 7.5 and so forth and so on. Let's see, where was I? So anyway, I was telling you about fine business. So that's all that is. It's just kind of like a habit. I put it in letters and everything else. I thought that I explained all that to you a long time ago. I guess I didn't. Okay, that's fine business. And, well, see, there it is again. FFB, okay? Now, yes, sweetheart, I realize that it's been 3 months and 20 days. Matter of fact, by the time you get this tape, it'll be almost 4 months. And believe me, Myrna, if I could just make you understand this one thing, is that this is just as hard for me as it is for you. It really is. As a matter of fact, I sometimes think it's harder because you've at least got your folks there with you and your brothers and Agatha's naked kids and so forth, and you can have a little fun with your grandma and so forth. But I ain't got nobody here. I ain't got nobody. And I don't want anybody either, as a matter of fact, except you. I haven't dated anybody, and I don't think I will. I really don't feel like it. Went to see a couple of movies since I've been here, but I went alone. Well, one time I went with another guy that works in the office. Okay, let me see. Have I told you lately that I love you? Well, darling. Gosh, I really enjoyed that tape that you sent me. I really did. I'm just killing time here because I'm not one to let the naked tape go through the mails. I certainly hope that it's been not too long since I recorded this that you're now listening to it, because I'm sending you this in lieu of a letter, you might say. I'm not going to repeat everything that I say here on the tape in a letter. Unless, of course, you send me a letter in a day or so and say, why the hell haven't you heard from me? I'm going to send this tape airmail, so you should get the tape Saturday. You should get it Saturday or Monday at the very latest. Chicago, the mail leaves very fast. I can write a letter here I can mail a letter here Monday, and the folks in Miami will have it Tuesday. Airmail. 2.5 hours by jet from here to Miami. Of course, to Minot, North Dakota, that's so damned inaccessible, and Bainville, Montana is even worse. Well, we're going to talk about that in a little bit, too. Well, no, Myrna, we probably won't have to wait until you graduate before we see each other. We'll work something out, I'm sure, but I wouldn't want you to walk all the way. I don't think you'd walk all the way anyway. Oh, let me see. Myrna, let me tell you something. You say here, you should have heard the Flagstads telling me goodbye for the summer. Wow, I like them very much. Well, Myrna, let me tell you something. I like them very much, too, as you no doubt realize, especially Carl. My nose itches. And because Carl and the whole family has that quality of sincerity, which I think is missing in so many people, maybe even in me. But there are very few people that I genuinely like. They could kick me in the face, you know what I mean? They could do anything they wanted to me, but I'd still like them, simply because I respect them, because they have that quality of sincerity. Like Carl really loves his job, and it's quite evident, and we've discussed all this before, but that's why I am happy that you like them too. I frankly have to tell you now that I agree with you about 2 people that you mentioned to me. One of them is this Sharon, Mike's girl. She's not really that good. And the second one was, although I, of course, never said anything at the time, the second one was Joan, you know, Ed's wife, Joan Goditis. She is kind of in that insincere position, too. She seems to be out to get, you know, what she can get, and that's it. Well, at any rate, that's the scoop on that. But I'm glad that you like the Flagstads, because I really do, too. I'm sorry that you're bored, baby. I get kind of bored in the evenings, too. The days go pretty fast. But the evenings when I'm here alone are kind of slow. Hey, fine business on your great uncle being a rodeo rider. Isn't that funny? He's from Bainville, Montana, and he lives in Pennsylvania somewhere, and he's a rodeo rider, 78 years old. That's pretty darn good, I think. Now, what you ought to do, if I was there, or if Carl were there, no doubt, he could write some very good material on this man. So if he's there and Carl's there, tell Carl I said it sounds like a good feature. Okay, you asked for it, and here it comes. Quote, I heard the next president of the United States speak 3 times since last night at this time. His name is Richard Nixon. Okay, Myrna, let me make a little prediction to you, sweetheart. I predict, number 1, that Adlai Stevenson will get the presidential nomination for the Democratic Party. And number 2, if Stevenson and Nixon go together, you know, against each other for the November elections, Stevenson will be elected. Now, second, if Stevenson does not get the nomination and Symington gets the nomination, Symington will be elected against Nixon. If Lyndon Johnson gets the nomination and not Stevenson, Johnson will get the presidency. The only man whom I think might possibly lose to Richard Nixon is Kennedy, if Kennedy gets the nomination. Everyone's saying that he will. I don't think he will. But at any rate, if he does, then it will be a nip and tuck battle between he and Nixon. But if I'm forced to the wall, which apparently I am, I will tell you that if Kennedy and Nixon battle it out, Nixon will lose. So that's Drew Pearson's predictions of things to come. Rather, Ralph Goodwin's. Now, I have many reasons for all of those predictions, and we won't go into them right now. But if you were here, Buster, I'd make you listen. Now, just think that over, seriously. Really. Nixon is a professional politician to end all professional politicians. Not a statesman, mind you, I didn't say. Well, enough on that. Say, Myrna, now I sincerely hope that this is private, just you. And, as a matter of fact, I'd advise you to make it so, if it's not. Okay, I think that's rather interesting about your folks. I'm trying to change you, but I don't quite understand. I wish that you would tell me just a little bit more about that. Don't change, sweetheart. I love you the way you are. I think I have an idea what you're trying to tell me here. But if you can't trust men, and especially your husband, who in the heck are you ever going to trust? You've got to be able to trust him, or you can't trust anybody. There can't be any secrets from him, just the same as I would never keep any secrets from you. The people that you like, the things that you like to do, the things that you don't like, the people that you don't like, the things you like about a person, the things you don't, the things you want from a person, the things you don't want. All of these things are a part of each other, I think, and you can't keep things apart. You've got to be able to trust them. Sweetheart, I sincerely hope that you would never take me or anyone else if you didn't sincerely trust them. Really. I don't understand what advice your mom could be giving you. It says, I did get kind of a laugh, though. Maybe I shouldn't have. It says, don't talk about this and that, mainly sex. Myrna, take my word for it. We ain't going to have to do much talking about sex. You know the old expression about actions and words or something? Something speaking louder than other things? I don't know. Well, at any rate, but we will talk about it if you want to. I'd love to talk about it with you. Oh, hey, don't tell her that you might change your mind. What are you doing to me? Why did you tell her that? Then she'll get her hopes all up that there'll be somebody else, and then if it's not, then she'll be disappointed that it's me. Please. Well, that soon will be past history. That's very nice words there, by the way, Myrna. I like this. That, too, will soon be past history, to forget or remember as I choose. That's very nice. I like that. If you only knew what life has in store for you, sweetheart, well, if you did, think of the things that you could do. You could do anything, I guess. Don't feel sorry for yourself, sweetheart. And you say food, shelter, and work. What more could you want? I don't know whether you're being sarcastic or not, but I can think of a hell of a lot of things more than just food, shelter, and work. And there's where you wrote the stupid PIN, P-I-N. That's pen, English major. Okay, on Carol and Bob coming out. Okay, I thought this was very cute in your letter, Myrna, about, gosh, you must be getting tired of listening to me. Tough. Listen anyway. After all, how often you haven't heard me for a month? 3.5 months, 4 months. Now look, sweetheart, about as far as us getting together, here's the scoop. I don't know how we're going to do this, frankly. Now this, Myrna, is not the same as me saying I don't want to. Get that in your beautiful head, will you? I'm not saying I don't want to. What I am saying is that I don't know how we can. And if we really want to, let's you and I work this out together, okay? Like we usually do. How, I don't know. There are a number of things. One, I can't take off any time from work, you see. And I'm not eligible for a vacation yet. You have to be with the company a year, and then you get 2 weeks vacation. Now, a year from now, I'll be transferred to Schenectady, New York, as I mentioned before. And what I kind of have in the back of my mind is that would be in June, see, and then I could go on to Schenectady and prepare the way and so forth and so on. And then after you graduate in August, then that would be just perfect as far as I'm concerned, because I think that would be just wonderful. But we'll talk about that much later. Well, at any rate, between now and June and the time I get transferred. Now, let me tell you this further, too, that during this 2 weeks vacation, a number of things could happen. One, that may be the time that they will want me to make my move from Chicago to Schenectady during my vacation. I get paid for it anyway, see. Or I have to go to reserve meeting, with the Air Force. I'm not finished with that yet, as you know. And I may have to go to 2-week summer camp at some Air Force base, 2 weeks every summer as a part of my training. Go back on active duty just for 2 weeks every year. Well, this is the usual procedure, and it may very well be that vacation time, my 2 weeks vacation, paid vacation from the company, will have to be taken up with going to an Air Force base somewhere. That would probably be the logical thing to do, inasmuch as if I didn't take it at that time, I'd have to take another 2 weeks, some other time, away from the job, and that would give me 4 weeks or a whole month out of the year away from the job, which is just ridiculous. I mean, you just don't do that, Either you're going to work for a company and you're going to work for them all year, with the exception of your legitimate vacation, during the plant shutdown or so forth, annual plant shutdown, or you're not going to work for them. So that possibility is out. Well, all of this by way of merely saying that I don't think we should even count on my 2 weeks vacation, which I'll get a year from now, as being a time when we can get together. Well, okay, so then when can we get together? Well, as you mentioned in your letter, the holidays seem to be the answer. Now, I haven't looked at a calendar, and we'll work this out a little bit later. You give me your comments on it right now on this next letter that you send me back as to when you think would be the best time. There are a number of things that we can work out. Frankly, I'll tell you this, but don't let it make any difference in your plans, Myrna, is that I got this apartment, frankly, without even trying to even find anybody else to go in with me. Even though there wasn't anybody, I may have been able to, in my own plant, in my own office, I may have been able to find somebody else, say, that's working somewhere else here in Chicago Heights, to share an apartment with me. Put an ad in the paper, young man wants another young man to share an apartment with him and split expenses or something like that. But I didn't even do that, simply because I wanted to be alone, with the hope, I tell you frankly, the hope in the back of my mind that maybe you could come here. How does that hit you? I know it hits you real good, but I know that maybe that could never be either. So that's the one plan, was the if you could come here. You could come here at any time, see? I could go to work in the morning, I'd be home at 5, and then you could sack out or sleep late or do whatever you wanted to all day. I know that that would be kind of lonesome for you, but if, say, if, for example, you came here on a Thursday, spend Thursday and Friday, and then I'm off Saturday and Sunday, see? And we could be together Saturday and Sunday, and then you could go back Monday, say, or something like that. Well, this is Chicago Heights, which is a southern suburb of Chicago, and there are two big airports in Chicago, O'Hare Field and Midway. So I've never been to either one from here. I've been to both, flying through the town, but I've never been to either one, but I'm sure that we could possibly arrange something. It's about an hour's drive to the downtown city section from where I am. Hour or possibly a little bit more. So it'll probably be an hour's drive from the airport, too. I think there's an expressway that runs somewhere near here that goes right to one or both of the airports. So at any rate, if you could come to one of those, you see, then I could meet you there, take you here, you could stay here, and then I could take you back to the airport and see you off. Okay, now that's the one plan, you might say. Now, I tell you frankly that right now things don't look very good for either way. The second plan, of course, being that me to come up there to see you. I'll talk about that in just a second. But I don't have any money now, sweetheart, and I'm going to have to wait at least a couple of months before I save some money. And so then, let me make this clear. Regardless of which plan we adapted, me come there or you come here, I would be willing to pay for it, you see. Of course, while you're here with me in the apartment, it wouldn't cost you anything. That is, if you wouldn't be ashamed or so forth to stay here in the apartment. We could tell anybody that asks that you're my sister, for heaven's sake, as far as that goes. Speaking of my sister, she wants to come up and see me, too. Gladys, that's my twin sister in Miami. Well, that's the one plan. Now, the second plan, of course, would be for me to come there. Now, there, where is there? Well, either Minot or Bainville. Well, now, Christmas Bainville is completely inaccessible by air. I don't know where the nearest airport would be to Bainville other than, I don't know, is there an airport at Williston? There may be a little airport at Williston. I guess there is. Maybe that would be the best place. But you could meet me at the airport at Williston, see? Okay, and then take me there, and then okay, but now here's the only thing wrong with that plan, and it's to me it's enough wrong with it to make it worthy of considering over a couple of times. And that's simply that there's no direct flights from here to Minot or to Williston. None at all. When I went to Colorado Springs for Christmas, it was 7 or 5 stops between there and Omaha. And there's another flight, a north-central flight out of Minot. I'm speaking about Minot because I don't know about Williston at all. You'll have to check into that if you want to. But at any rate, there were 5 stops between Minot and Minneapolis. Now, there are direct flights, of course, between Chicago and Minneapolis. That's no problem. Which reminds me, I had planned 3, too, but I'll get to that in a second. Gosh, I hope that you can follow me on all this baloney, Myrna. Well, so, okay, but now the point I was making is that it would take so long. I figure it would take a whole day's travel, about 5 hours by air, at least, between, and actual flying time, you see, what with these little DC-3 hedge hoppers they use up there, to, not to mention the time waiting, say, at the Minneapolis airport for the connection to Minot, and then you have to go from Minot to Bismarck to Pierre to Huron to Grand Forks to Minot, you know, that kind of thing. That it would be, hell, if I was to leave here even on a Friday night, there's no connection out of there until, say, sometime Saturday morning, and I'd get to Minot or Williston on Saturday afternoon. I'd have to be back here Sunday night. Now, Christmas this year comes on a Sunday, which is bad because, hell, Friday you're off and Monday you're back to work again, you know. So Christmas doesn't have a very long holiday. Now, I haven't checked on Thanksgiving, but I think probably the Thanksgiving holiday would be the one that we should try and shoot for. So I don't know. You think it over and let me know your views on it, sweetheart. At least it would have to be a couple of months because I don't have any money. I've got to get some other things and get a little pay going here and so forth and so on, and get some clothes. Well, at any rate, that's one thing. Okay, now plan 3, which I just happened to think of, and I just dropped something here on the floor that matches. Plan 3 would be that if you could go to Minneapolis, and I would go to Minneapolis, and we'd meet in Minneapolis, but that wouldn't be very good because there would both of us be away from a place that we knew and so forth. Well, at any rate, those are the ways that I've thought of to get us together. And like I've tried to point out to you, if things look grim in that line, Myrna, it's not because I don't want to, but because I think that we are facing reality on the subject. Well, I'm going to save your letters here, and maybe I'll have some more comments on them later. I certainly hope that I get a letter from you. Now, was there something else that I was going to say? Oh, me. Yeah, I got a nice big bed here in the apartment. Oh, well, I won't talk about that. That kills me. Oh, me. Oh, me, Andy, yeah. Oh, me. Hang on just a second. Well, what was just a few second pause to you, sweetheart, was about a 10-minute pause for me. I went and I took my empty coffee cup back into the kitchen and made myself a drink. Hear the ice rattle? I guess not. Little ginger ale there. Well, maybe with a little bourbon in it. You know, this drinking alone business is for the birds, they tell me. But I'm not drinking alone. I'm with you right now. I wish I were. Myrna, when I think of so many things, my heart literally aches for you. It really does. Gosh, I remember, let me just reminisce for a second. I remember the day that you called me on the telephone at the base. And then I went and I picked you up, and I remember I apologized because my car was so dirty. But then the only trouble was I made a liar out of myself because every other time that you saw me after that, my car was dirty too. And we blew up balloons sitting out in the car and thinking of things for your silly friends. Some of them were, by the way, let's face it. No, that's all right. Never mind. Sorry. Let me see. And then I remember we took in quite a few movies. And the Halloween party, remember that? And you were so nervous. And then Cyrano de Bergerac and Roxanne, remember that? And then, Myrna, your room. And I remember, do you remember that one night I tried to touch you? And you wouldn't let me. And then I remember the first time, and then many hours after, and then making breakfast after church at the apartment. And that was the time when you thought that there was such a big thing between Monica Rogers and myself, when you found out that there wasn't. And I made a choice. Well, gosh, Myrna, please let me know seriously your adult comments on us getting together. And I miss you very much. I really do. Oh, I just think about you all the time. I got your picture on my dresser, by the way. I've got you on one side and my sister Gladys on the other. And then my grandma and grandpa are on my big radio. You remember the one that was on top of the refrigerator at Mrs. Smith's? I've got the picture there. Say, speaking of pictures, do you want this little picture here back? If you don't want it back, I'll be delighted to keep it. But if you want it back, I'll sure send it to you. Just let me know. Well, I guess that's it for this time, sweetheart. I've talked for almost an hour, and I know it must have seemed like 3 hours to you. I wish that I could say more things to you, but frankly, I'm kind of apprehensive that someone else might hear this tape and wouldn't be very good. So even at that, I'm kind of careful sometimes that I write in letters, though I sometimes do get a little rambunctious, as you know. You and your dirty jokes. Golly, I think that's terrible. Oh, well. So anyway, let me know about most of the things, at any rate, that I asked you about on the tape. If you feel like it, you can go back and play it again. Maybe not now, but, some other time when you want to. And I have a request to ask of you, too. If you get a recorder, be sure and get the microphone, too. And then maybe you could arrange to sing a little bit more, playing the piano yourself, at your house, or have someone else play for you. Or if not, just talk to me. I'd really love to hear from you on that. And then if you will send this tape back to me just as fast as you can, then I promise you that I'll send it right back to you, too. Okay? And that way, I think the situation might work out pretty good. If you have no difficulty or a minimum of difficulty in borrowing a recorder, that is. I know if you have to go through a lot of trouble to get a recorder, then it's not worth it. But if you can borrow a recorder from your school, like you said, or possibly from a local radio station or one of your friends, then that's a lot of fun. You won't even have to send them back airmail. I'll even be satisfied with regular mail. But don't keep this tape, sweetheart. I'll be glad to cut you another one, and I promise you the ones in the future will have a little more production on them, maybe a little musical background and a poem in lieu of your singing ability, which you can use and which you do use, I should say, to such great advantage to dress your tapes up. Sweetheart, I love you. I love you very much. Please do your best for me, will you? In all the things that you do. And at the risk of getting sentimental, don't cry. But don't forget to use the telephone to call me, Sycamore 81973 in Homewood, Illinois. Call me real soon, will you? And call me when you listen to this tape, okay? Give me a buzz. If it's a Friday, I may not be here because Maury, one of my bosses, had me over his house last Friday for cocktails, and I ended up staying for dinner. Didn't get home till around 11. So this may occur again on a Friday, to celebrate the closing of the week. But if I'm not here, try again just a little bit later, or at any rate the next day, or try again, Don't forget this is Central Daylight Saving Time, which would be an hour later than you, I guess. Or whatever it is, you figure it out. It doesn't make any difference. Sweetheart, God bless you, and please write and send the tape back. And I've really enjoyed talking to you, sweetheart, and I hope you haven't minded it too much. Please do your best, and so that we can be together again real soon. Let me know your comments on the things I've asked you about the trips and so forth. And now, the day is done, and the darkness falls from the wings of night as a feather is wafted downward from an eagle in its flight. I see the lights of the village gleam through the rain and the mist, and a feeling of sadness comes o'er me that my soul cannot resist. A feeling of sadness and longing that is not akin to pain, and resembles sorrow only as the mist resembles the rain. Come, read to me some poem, some simple heartfelt lay that shall soothe this restless feeling and banish the thoughts of the day. Not from the grand old masters, not from the bards sublime whose distant footsteps echo through the corridors of time,
For lo, like strains of martial music, their mighty thoughts suggest life's toil and endeavor. And tonight I long for rest. Read from some humbler poet, whose songs gushed from his heart as showers from the clouds of summer, or tears from the eyelids start, who through long days of labor and nights devoid of ease still heard in his soul the music of wonderful melodies. Such songs have the power to quiet the restless pulse of care, and come like the benediction that follows after prayer. Then read from the treasured volume the poem of thy choice, and lend to the rhyme of the poet the beauty of thy voice, and the night shall be filled with music, and the cares that infest the day shall fold their tent like the Arab, and silently steal away. Good night, sweetheart. I love you very much. Bye, Myrna.